It's time for us to start the lecture part of our meeting, and I just want to introduce myself. If anyone doesn't know, I'm Nancy Faracco. I'm the chapter rep for the Bobby Jones Chiari Syringomyelia Foundation, and we have some exciting things to talk about tonight, not just the subject of the night, but we also have some exciting happenings here. And one of the things is we are planning our first United Night Walk. What's a United Night Walk? Am I supposed to talk about this, Dorothy, or did you? Okay. And I don't know if you guys want to come up and say anything. We have two co-organizers for our walk, and they are Juliana Winninger and Patrice Pryor. They have very generously volunteered their time and their efforts in spite of they struggle like many of you, but they're still going to do this. What's a United Night Walk? They have them in different sites in the country, and it's a time for everybody to come out, patients, their family, their friends, and really enjoy each other, have a good time. We're going to have games. We're going to have music. We'll have some refreshments here and there. I know we're planning to have a food truck, which is pretty cool. And it's just going to be a nice time for everybody to come and enjoy each other. And the big goal is to raise some money to help the CSF. The CSF is the one that funds these meetings. You know, you might think there's not much to it, but we have a representative fly in for this. We have the videographer fly in. The videos are all posted on the website. In case any of you are not familiar with it, csfinfo.org, you can go on that website, and all the lectures that have taken place in the country are all on that website. So no matter what information you want to find out, you can look and you might find a very knowledgeable lecture on that subject. So they do all that, and they do so much more, and Dorothy is going to talk a little bit about that. So we can all join together and try to raise some funds to help the CSF the way they help us. You would create your team, and you can name it whatever you want to name it, but make it something that your friends and family will know that's your team. So you can go into the site and create your team, and you have an opportunity to give a donation if you choose to. You can send the flyer around electronically or hand it out somewhere, and invite other people to join you and help to sponsor you or be part of your team. It doesn't matter if somebody gives $1 or $5, everything adds up. If anyone gives a $50 donation, they will receive a shirt, and it just makes such a great presence if you have all these people gathered together wearing this shirt. I'm really excited that it's going to be at the Greenway here, and then we're going to do a 1-mile walk at the end of the fun at 6:30, and we'll walk around. We're going to have a route through the campus for us to walk. If you are able to walk, that's great. You don't have to walk, but if you are able, that's great. We will have bathroom facilities in the buildings. If you need to cool down or warm up or whatever, depending what the weather is, you'll be able to go into the buildings. They won't be much of a walk away from the Greenway. So I think it's an ideal location, and the nice thing is there are medical people walking around, maybe patients suffering and looking for answers, and you know, we will be a presence there that can help raise awareness in addition to funds. So I'm really excited. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and we've got the community to do it now, and I think it's going to be really a fun time and a very productive time. So I don't know if I forgot anything. Oh yeah, we will have symptom markers along the way. And if you have access to anyone who has a business who might want to sponsor a marker, it's $50 to sponsor a marker, and then we'll have their business name or their personal name if somebody, wanted to personally sponsor a marker. We'll have their name on the symptom marker, so you'll be walking by headaches and dizziness and lightheadedness and all as you go. People walking around here are going to see those markers and go, what is this about? So I think we'll have an opportunity to do something really good here, and I'm excited to do this. So let's have a hand for our organizers. So Dorothy's going to let us know some more things about what the CSF has accomplished.
All right. Let's see how I do. That's good. So, first of all, I just want you guys to know that whenever I talk about chapters and chapters that are grown and doing the right thing, I talk about this chapter because just watching you interact with each other tonight and then come to learn a little bit more, that's really what we're trying to do here. And if you can picture this in 72 other places around the country last year, right? It's a start. It's a start. It's not a big major medical conference, but it's a way to bring communities together to support each other. So thank you for participating, and thank you for helping each other. And I just want to, update you a little bit on why you would raise money. Why would you want to raise money? And a little bit about what's going on with our organization. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody who's speaking tonight. And Nancy in particular, who is the rock of this place. And if she wouldn't organize it and all, it wouldn't be happening. So kudos to you. We've just rebranded as Bobby Jones CSF. So is that me, maybe? I don't know. So who is Bobby Jones, and why would we want to use his name? Because it's really a mouthful. Bobby Jones, Chiara and Sorghum Foundation, right? He was an amazing man. He's known for golf, and the reason he's known for golf, for those of you who don't know, is he won the Grand Slam, which is the 4 majors, and he did it all in 1 year. And he was an amateur. He was not a professional golfer, and he's the only man in history to do that. So, an amazing guy. He was really smart. He got degrees from Emory. He had a degree from Georgia Tech. He had a degree from Harvard. He didn't even finish law school. He passed the bar because he was so smart and so good. He passed the bar without finishing the whole school, the whole 4 years or whatever. He's one of 2 people to receive the key to St. Andrews, and the other person was Benjamin Franklin. So back in his day, this guy was with President Eisenhower. He was in the movies with James Cagney. They did this whole little Warner Brothers series. He was really an amazing man, and a lot of people never even heard of him, right? So, and what we didn't hear about, even as he went through, is the fact that he had syringomyelia. And the whole second part of his life, he gradually debilitated. He ended up going from hand crutches, he was a proud man, from hand crutches to leg braces to a wheelchair, and passed away in 1971 from complications. So the Jones family decided that they wanted to lend their name to our organization because they felt we were doing really good things to promote research and education, and why should they start another foundation in his name? Instead, let's combine efforts and grow together. So the hope is that through his legacy, we're going to be able to generate more funding and more awareness through golf and various other areas where he is more well known. So, what does your money do? This past year, I guess, we hosted 7 major medical meetings, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We have a staff right now of 5 people, so I want you to think in terms of 5 people doing what I'm going to talk about, okay? We are a partner on a $2.8 million study for posterior fossa decompression versus posterior fossa decompression with duroplasty. What does that mean? So the patch that they sew in when they do a posterior fossa decompression, when you take your child into a doctor now and you say, which surgery is better? Should they open the dura, or should they leave it closed, or should we sew in the patch and make more space? And they say, which surgery is better for my child? No doctor can answer that. There is not an answer for that. So this study is what's called a randomized surgical trial, which means that the doctors were randomized, not the patients. So when you go into the doctor's office, they were slated to do so many surgeries using either posterior fossa decompression or posterior fossa with duroplasty. That was what was randomized. We now have 43 centers around the country enrolled at major medical institutions. There's full enrollment from kids. So they're doing the surgeries now. We should have answers and be able to answer that question better in 2 more years, so that when patients then go in and say, which surgery should I have for my child, somebody will be able to say, this is one and why. I think that's a great study. So, and then we do 419 lectures on our website. Starting September 1st, our website is going to go to the Bobby Jones, Chiari, and Syringomyelia Foundation website, Bobby Jones CSF. It is brand new. It's divided up into patients versus doctors versus researchers. So it's supposed to be much easier to navigate for you and find what you want. And I think you're going to be really pleased. So for Chiari Month, we're going to open it up and show off the new website. People who come to our website, you're talking about 14,000 people a month who visit our website for information, out of 193 countries around the world, which is huge. So we're not only educating people here, we're educating people globally. There isn't a lot out there, so this is a huge resource for them. And just our videos, we've had over 3 million hits with people learning from our videos. So to do an average video, just to give you an idea what it costs to tape a lecture and all that, you're talking about this program probably is going to come in at around $2,000 here. If we have to fly across the country, it's more, but just to give you an idea of what each of these lectures cost. So this year we hosted the think tank meeting, which is for medical professionals. It's doctors, and what we do is we put it on the front end of their conferences, because they're already showing up to, like, the American Association of Neurological Surgeons meeting. They're already coming to that. So if we hook it on the front end, we get a lot more participation, because they just have to add 1 more day to their schedule. What we do at these meetings is we add, we go through the literature, we see who's doing the cutting edge research, and then we ask those researchers or doctors to come to present to the medical professionals. And that gives them an opportunity to ask questions, to see what's new, to just interact with each other and collaborate with each other. So that's been really very successful for our group. This was a great thing for patients, and we just talked about tonight, what do we do? How do we change insurance problems and things like that? We're going to talk about this tonight, right? But we host it's a lecture group for patients, and then the real point of all of this is on the Monday morning, we go up to Capitol Hill with postcards from patients, with kids, adults going to Congress in your particular state And we go up there with a united message, whether you have Ehlers-Danlos, whether you have dysautonomia, whether you have Chiari, whether you have syringomyelia, it doesn't matter. We're all fighting the same fight. So to go together with one voice and go up and let our representatives know what we need and want is very impactful. So I encourage each of you, look for it next year if you'd like to participate. If you can't be there and you want to write a letter, we'll deliver it. So, but the more the merrier. So I think that's one of the really unique things that our group does. This is a big project. So I actually wanted to talk about this just a little bit. Consensus meeting. When we started out on the Common Data Elements project, right, we thought, oh, well, this is really easy. We're just going to put a registry up. We'll get everybody to put their information in, and we'll get answers. When we started that whole project, we realized, oh, we can't do that, because what's happening is when you try and get registries or data to talk to each other, it needs to be the same language, right? You can't have French talking to German and whatever. And you need to standardize measurements. So if I'm going to measure this cell phone, you'd have some doctors on the MRIs measuring from maybe down here to here. You know, is it a bone? Is it a soft part that you're measuring from? So there was no standardization, right? So you'd have one doctor saying, well, her tonsils are 4 millimeters long, and the same MRI you'd put it in front of somebody else, and they'd say, oh, no, that's a 7 millimeter herniation, right? 4, you don't get surgery. 7, you do. So it's a big problem, right? So we said, all right, we're going to stop the registry project. We're going to go back. So for 2.5 years, we had neurosurgeons, neurologists, everybody on the phone every Tuesday night, 8:30. They were home or just finishing work. They took an hour and a half out of their night, their personal time, to go through and write 794 common data elements. We were the first group, so far the only group, to actually create the whole project, put it in front of the National Institute of Health, the National Institutes of Neurological Disorders and Strokes, and say, here's what we came up with. They accepted all of it. It's now on their websites. All the researchers who start writing papers and they want funding from the government, they have to go and use that dictionary. That's the standard now. So this little engine created this huge dictionary for researchers that now everybody uses. So now we have that, and we said, okay, now we're going to open our registry using these data elements, right? Common data elements. And we got to this project where no one can decide what Chiari actually is. Because if you, what's written in the book is it's a 5 millimeter herniation on an MRI, right? Like, you look at that. Well, that's not what Chiari is, right? Everybody here knows that. But you go to the doctor and you say, well, is it that you have to have nystagmus? Is it and a 5 millimeter, or can you have a 2 millimeter and you have vomiting? You know, so what is it? And what's the broad spectrum that we have to be looking at? So we said, let's go through and parse that out and redefine it and look for syndromes. And that way, maybe it would be better for insurance companies. Maybe it'll be better. I know it'll be better for patients because we'll have a better understanding of it. And then we said, this is easy. We're going to do this Delphi method, which means that the way you write the questions or statements is that people have to answer in a yes or no format. So you will come to some kind of consensus because it's yes or no. It's not, well, I think whatever. So we started this, and we were all very happy with doing this as our new project. And then we just realized that in order to do a Delphi method, you have to go through the literature. So we started reading through all the papers for Chiari and narrowed the field. Now we're looking at 205 papers that actually have some kind of a definition of Chiari in it. 205 out of the vast body of literature. When you start reading through those papers, you find out the evidence, and that's, we do evidence-based medicine, right? The evidence for that is not there. So now we have to we're going to pause, because the literature doesn't support the project. So we have to go back, and now what we're going to do is we're asking patient organizations, the American Association of Neurological Surgeons, the American Board of Neurological Surgeons, the Congress of Neurological Surgeons, the American Society for Neuroradiology, all these different major medical groups, to give us 10 experts. Everybody nominate 10 people who you feel are the best experts in the country. And we compiled that list. And then we looked for who had the most publications, how many different groups nominated the same person, right? And you go through and you create the list of 11. And those are considered your 11 expert panelists who probably know more about it than most people. So now we have that together, we did all that, and then we realized now we have to go back and actually start again. So we're writing a white paper to try and at least come to a baseline for Chiari, right? And submit that to the literature. And then we can go back and continue this project. Because until we do that, it's going to go nowhere. So maybe you don't see a lot about what our organization does because nobody saw any of that, right? It's not a big splash yet. Do you know how many hours went into trying to get that process going, and how many medical professionals are working on really on their own time, not being paid to do that? I mean, it's huge. So this organization has a lot to offer, and I think that when we get through this, we will have a redefinition of Chiari, and it will benefit patients, and it will be better treatment. Just bear with us while we do it. This is the Hydrodynamic Symposium. So what does that mean? That means we get engineers, biofluid experts, neuroradiologists, mathematicians, and physicists to look at the system and look at the tools that we're using to diagnose, and then let them collaborate. And we host this meeting every 2 years. It's held in all different parts of the world. This was Oslo, Norway this year. We've been in Switzerland. We've been in the United States, Georgia Tech, different places. This group, and this is just one example, we just got a paper from Mikhail Papasov, who's in that photo somewhere. And he is working from Harvard on a drug delivery system for patients using your cerebrospinal fluid to carry the drug. So it would be central nervous system based. And that's one of the projects that maybe will change how we care for patients in pain, something like that. So it's cutting edge, you're supporting that. There's a paper, if you really want to read it, I'd be happy to share with you. In September 13th, we're going to the UK because the health system over there is not doing much better at getting people diagnosed and treated. We might even have a better time of it here. So we're actually bringing together the health system over there and doctors from that area, and we're sprinkling in some people from the U.S. to try and create a roundtable and a discussion, and then hopefully what we can do is start to change the health discussion for the UK and eventually other countries. Research colloquium, same idea. We do this in the fall in conjunction with the CNS, and again, it's cutting edge papers. So, the International Registry. How many people in here have signed into the Peer International Registry? Who's in it? 4. Okay. I have pamphlets. I suggest you all put it in, because if we don't all join in together, put all the comorbid disorders, diseases in one place so that researchers can then look at them, we're never going to get anywhere, right? If you just have the dysautonomia and all you have is dysautonomia and that's in one registry, and you have Chiari over here, well, now you can't look at Chiari and dysautonomia. So you have to put everything into the one pot so that researchers can then access it and look at the cross problems that go on with all of those diseases and disorders. So I will give a pamphlet out. I really do hope that you don't even have to donate. All you have to do is take the time to fill out the registry. So I encourage you. And as Caitlin and all, she put up this slide, but we're the only registry right now that's using the common data elements. It will be able to talk to the National Institutes of Health. It will be able to go on a big scale and connect with us. So I hope that gives you kind of a good idea on where we are right now and what we're doing. Do you have any questions that I can answer for you? You good? All right. I took more than I wanted to take, but this is my annual update, and then it's all good. So thank you very much. Who are we going to?
Thank you so much for your hard work and dedication and all that you do. And I just want to also point out that, it's Chiari syringomyelia, but it draws in Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and dysautonomia and all the other conditions. That's why they say and related disorders. So you might not have Chiari or syringomyelia, but all of this work is also helping all of the other, we call them comorbidities, the other related disorders. Okay?